Hello and welcome to this pit stop for Treasure Island, designed by Marc Paquien and published by Matagot Games. In Treasure Island, each of the players is going to play the role of a pirate from the story, and they're going to be attempting to find treasure which has been hidden by the Long John Silver player somewhere on this map. At the beginning of the game, Long John Silver does not start in play, but on their own private map off the board, behind a screen, they're going to place a cross and say, this is where I've hidden the treasure, and it's up to all the other players to find the treasure before Long John Silver can. Now, on a player's turn, it's the hindmost that goes, and they'll move forward on the calendar. They then might trigger Long John Silver, but they then get to take one action at the beginning of the game or two actions as we get later on throughout the time of the game. Now, what sort of actions are they going to be taking? Well, they can move on the board. Whenever a character decides to move, they take their mini off. They then use a ruler and they measure out how far that character has moved. Now, they can move up to 3 miles or up to 6 miles. If they choose just to move up to 3 miles, they mark it on the board, put a cross to where they are now. And with that short movement, they can then also, for the same action, do a little search. And any time a player does a search, they draw a circle on the board using the correct template. And if the treasure is within that circle, Long John Silver will take this treasure chest, put the treasure inside, give it to them, and when the player reveals it, they will have won. Now, why bother with a treasure chest and all that? Because Long John Silver can also choose to give them extra actions or hints, for example, an extra small search whenever they want, by putting that in there. And when they take that, that's going to allow Long John Silver to place certain clues during the game, certain hints which will give the players less information. So he's boosting one to stop giving information out, because that's what Long John Silver is going to be forced to do in a second. Now, I'll just go over the other basic actions the players can do. They can do a longer move away, up to 6 miles as we saw, but that's a complete action. Or they could do a large search, and that would also be their complete action, in which they get to use a larger template. And again, if the treasure is within the circle they've drawn, then they have won the game by finding the treasure. Each of the players also has extra actions they can do on their turn. For example, they can do a full gallop, as Orange has done here, from one area to any other space on the board, and then they're going to obviously start their movement again from there. All the players can also demand extra clues from Long John Silver or verify the clues from Long John Silver. So what are the clues all about? That's how the players are going to narrow down their search and hopefully have more of an idea of what's going on in the game. When a player goes into a calendar space, if there is a clue marker on there, Long John Silver is forced to play a clue from their hand. They start with starting clues and then move on to black spot clues, which get a bit more specific. And the first clue of the game they play must be true. So there are different types that they can play. For example, don't lose your bearings. In this game with 5 players, they choose 2 miniatures. For each one, reveal if the treasure is north or south of its position. So for example, Long John Silver here could say, the treasure is south of the green player. They are then forced to draw the information that they've revealed onto the board. And I won't draw it all the way across, but you'll get the idea if I start drawing an east-west line there, that everyone now knows that the treasure is going to be south of that line. And equally, they can choose another character and say, oh, it's south of that one as well. And by that way, they're going to start narrowing down the board for the players. Now, there are other types of clues which they can hand out. There is designate a miniature which is more than 6 miles away from the treasure. Now, you get a contraption here to help you draw these sort of circular clues. But for example, he could designate, again, green, and draw a circle roughly 6 miles around green and say, that's not a circle, that the treasure is not going to be within there, again, narrowing down the search. There are things like extra district hints that Long John Silver might have to give out. Each of the players at the beginning of the game is going to be given a private district hint, which they're going to mark on their own map behind their screen. And that will tell them that the treasure is definitely not in that district. And they also know that it's not going to be in any of the mountainous areas on the board, like here, this volcano, or not outside the red line denoting deep water. And again, Long John Silver might be forced to give out public information to say, yeah, it's not on there on the board. And again, we can just mark that however we choose as a group, something probably a bit tidier than that. What else might they be forced to reveal? Position the big compass on the miniature of your choice. Indicate 3 directions the treasure is in one of them. For example, Long John Silver could choose this miniature and draw on there and say it is definitely southwest, west, or northwest of this character. And again, we would continue these lines outwards, and that would narrow down the board for the characters. Now, Long John Silver's first clue must be true, so everyone knows that. Once you get to day 2 and onwards onto day 9, you get to 2 hints like this, which means that the clue I've given may be true, and then they're going to choose whether to put a yes or a maybe token on under each of the hints that they give out. And one of the things the characters can do on their turn for one of their actions, they've got a limited number depending on which character you are. They can verify one of these by flipping it over and checking and going, oh, it is true, it's not within there. That's nice to know. As we go through, on day 4, or again, play number dependent, Long John Silver is going to be put into one of the prisons on the board, and the player's going to choose how to do that, because as we go on throughout the game, and each of the characters have got different powers. For example, King George here for Anne can do a small search anywhere on the board, it's her pet monkey, or Charlotte here can demand more district hints from Long John Silver. They've all got individual powers. This dude up here gets to do a search around the outside of that ring whenever they're doing a big search, and so on. Anyway, when we get through after a certain number of turns, Long John Silver then becomes active. And on their turn, they're just going to do a move of up to 6 miles and again mark it on the board. And after that move, if ever they land on where the treasure is, they will have beaten the rest of the pirates. However, if any of the other pirates during one of their searches does do a search where the treasure is, they will have won. And whoever finds the treasure first is going to be the winner of Treasure Island. This has been a Game Pit Stop. For more videos like this, check out our YouTube channel. For more in-depth coverage of gaming, please check out the Game Pit podcast. Thank you.